Dice Tower Tonight, episode 75.
Properties that are intellectual.
Welcome to Dice Tower Tonight, a video cast about board games and card games, and especially the people who play them. On tonight's show, we're talking about games based on an existing pop culture property. What makes some of the games your favorite TV show in a box, and others a throwaway cash-in. Also, Crystal is plotting a game for me in the chat. We discuss some games we've played lately, and we answer questions from the audience live. My name is Eric, and joining me now, the Star Trek Monopoly to my Doctor Who Monopoly, here's Crystal.
Hello, everyone!
How's it going, Crystal?
You know, it's not going too bad.
Good.
The background is no longer on my wall back there, which I was barely using as a background anyway, so now Trevor is visible once more.
Gazing upon us.
That he was there, and so when I took down the background, I almost was kind of oh God, Trevor's under there. But I had to leave him up, right?
Yes.
I can't take him down yet.
Well, no, and it's that smoldering stare that we've all come to know and love.
Yes, indeed. How are you doing, Eric?
I'm doing. It's been a very eventful week. We had a tropical storm hit us yesterday and lost some limbs, and it almost crushed my minivan. So
limbs of the tree.
Oh,
type,
trees. Not. I still have my arms.
Just making sure.
Both legs.
You're sitting here legless, torso boy.
It's been an eventful week. I'm telling you. Let me tell you. No, and
not
everyone's
to make
fine.
light of people who do get injured in storms,
right.
just
no.
to be clear.
Yes, lots of trees down where we are, and fortunately we have power. I was able to work today, but others here in Connecticut are still waiting, and so that's a whole thing. So I'm looking forward to some happy talk and some discussion of games and some silliness with you in the chat tonight, Crystal.
Wonderful. Well, to that end, should we start with the silliest thing that we have, at least as far as the beginning part of our show is concerned?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to set the bar right now for the silliest thing, yes.
We could hold on that and make the chat wait for it.
No, we definitely should start with this and get it out of the way. All right, hang on. So both of us were like, we will have something to show before the show started. And of course, we both pulled out exactly the same thing.
It is Cube. The taken action figure for tabletop gamers.
Yes, indeed. This is a product made by Top Shelf Fun. They're the folks that make the Me Pillows, and it's a co-production with our friend Flip Flory from Flip.
They make Me Pillows. Me Pillows. These things.
I also have a visual aid.
Me Pillows. I love their stuff.
Yes, that really fun accessory company. They sell a design of a board game bag as well. But this is their latest thing. And it's through also Flip Flory's Super Saturday board game serial. And Flip wrote all of the flavor text that comes in this. And this is a very silly product. I'll just begin with that. But it is beautifully produced. This is a lovely box with the spot UV. It's got... You just opened yours, but it has a diorama. The idea being that, these cubes can be anything you want them to be. So... inside is a bunch of diorama pieces.
Here, I can kind of show some of mine since I haven't really punched out my diorama yet.
It's just a wooden cube. That's it. But the idea being that you can make it whatever you want. So yeah, there's these cutouts and standees. You can make the spaceship thing, and create a little scene for your cube. And there's even a diorama. Is it going to come out? I don't know if I can get it to come out. There's a sci-fi scene. Here we go.
Well, this is one of the types of cubes, but there are 6 of them. So we each got the sci-fi cube, but there are other types of cubes as well.
Yes, and in fact, if you get all 6 of them, you can make your own cube. Because one of the things in that punch board is a blank cube segment. So if you buy all 6... then you can assemble, or 6 of the same one, I would imagine. you can assemble this into your own custom cube, and you can draw or paint on the different sides. And it's all meant to be a collectible sort of thing where you set up a diorama or a scene and just sort of be goofy with your brand new cube.
I mean, Kabuki Kid nailed it on the head. Yes, this is a modern day pet rock. And I think that is exactly what this is. And it is intended to be like specifically for hobby gamers who like cheeky in-jokes, which y'all can deny it all you want, but we as gamers like cheeky in-jokes. So you put this in your game room and you tell people it's an in-action figure.
Yeah.
And board gamers will think it's hilarious and everyone else will be confused, but that's the best kind of collectible.
And speaking of the inside jokes, there is an instruction manual for Cube inside that has some amazing flavor text. This talks about the origins of the purple cube, so each one has a different origin story. It has instructions on how to use it. Cube rules. And one of these is, so that, the sci-fi cube is like an alien and is like infesting the populace. And step 4 of gameplay, soon you will notice many other cubes infiltrating the population around you. The easiest ways to locate these cubes is to don your sunglasses, not included. Which is a reference to Flip the Table. I'm very happy with this product, but it is very silly and is going to appeal to a particular segment of the board gaming group.
I mean, I think that's what Top Shelf Fun does best. Like, a normal average consumer isn't going to buy a meeple-shaped pillow either, but board gamers love these because like, no one else will understand what this is. They might go, "Oh, is that a star?" But it's not really a star. They can tell. It's something else. And so I think a lot of people would probably go, "Oh, is that one of your board game things?" And I would be like, yes, it is. I'd be very proud of that fact. And this is nice. It's not crazy heavy, but it's also not super light. It's got a decent heft to it. But I feel like if I dropped this on my foot, I wouldn't necessarily be
terrible. Yes.
Yeah.
So that's Cube from Top Shelf Fun. There's the other varieties are of course different colors, but there's different themes as well. There's a Western one and there's a noir one, and I don't know the full gamut of the themes. Oh, here we go. It's on the back. Zombies, farming, pirates, sci-fi, horror, and fantasy.
I mean, this is the same kind of thing like Funko Pops are for people.
Yes.
Some people will leave it in the box. Some people will take it out of the box. And generally, it just sits there, and it is a thing related to a thing that you love.
Yes, that is exactly
I'd say especially if you're a Euro gamer, like you don't paint minis, you don't, have like fun figurines to display, this is actually a pretty neat collectible.
If your coworkers have cool little figurines, you put this on your desk, it will confuse the heck out of them. They'll be like, "Wait, what?
Oh, that's just a paperweight?" You're like, "Oh, this is so much more than a paperweight."
So much. It can be anything. Today, this is a resource that will cause my ship to go across the galaxy. Yes.
I love the concept, and I think the production is great. So.
Yes, it is very well produced. It's a silly idea, but they went all the way you possibly could go with it. So, yeah. But we should probably talk about a game that you can play. What do you think?
I would love to do that. In fact, you and I actually got to play a game together recently.
We did! Not in person, of course, but we got to play Roy Cannaday's new design that he recently announced that's coming from, I'm blanking now. Gray Fox Games. It's called Last Light. It is a 4X style game that plays in about 60 to 90 minutes, which is a tall order for sure. But we got to try that in a virtual tabletop simulator game along with our friend Ambi, and Roy was there as well teaching the game. And surprisingly, Roy did not win the game, which is what I thought was going to happen. Ambi destroyed us.
Ambi totally wrecked us.
Yes. But it's a neat, the way that it gets, accelerates the process is that everybody's taking simultaneous actions. Everyone chooses an action card at the beginning of their turn, and that is what they will execute. And most of those things can be done simultaneously. There's a couple times you want to go in turn order. I think a couple times I may have attacked you and wanted to know who was going to get to take an action first. But it was neat. You're collecting light. You're trying to collect the light that still exists in the universe. And there's a center space that has a good amount of light that you collect every time the board resets. And Ambi just flew into the center and basically said, "Back off," and then just let everything roll in, coasted to victory.
The coolest part about this game, which Ambi said, I think she felt like she was missing, and I think you as well. I've played this game now 3 times over the past year and a half, and I haven't been able to really talk about it much before now since it hadn't been announced. But I've watched this get developed, and I have conflicts of interest all over the place here because Roy is my friend. Yep. Gray Fox Games sponsors my podcast. Like, I have loved this game since it was first shown to me, and before Gray Fox Games was ever involved. Like, I like 4X games, but certain 4X games don't appeal to the way I want to play games a lot of the time. Twilight Imperium is a good example of that. And this game, its physical presence is one of the coolest things about it, which you really don't get the full scope of when you play it on Tabletop Simulator, because the center of the board has 2 rotating wheels. So the universe is rotating during the course of the game, and the 2 wheels rotate at different speeds. So it's as if gravity is working the way it should, like things closer to the center move more quickly. So when you send your ships out into the universe and then things spin, your ships are now not in front of you anymore.
Yeah, they're now right in front of somebody else. Yes.
Yeah, and it's neat in Tabletop Simulator, but it is spectacular in person to see that, and especially the 3D planets being on the board. It's all so neat. And I believe Roy has said that was one of his struggles in getting a publisher to pick it up, is everyone went, "This is awesome. We can't produce this game for the price point that we want to." And so he had a lot of publishers who were interested and had to pass, and I'm so happy that Gray Fox is the one that ended up picking it up.
Very cool. I can't wait to see what it finally looks like when it shows up. Netters Plays was asking in the chat when we should expect the game. I think it's heading to Kickstarter in the next couple of months.
I think it's coming to Kickstarter either end of this year or soon, right? Like, but then I imagine it won't be get released obviously until I'm guessing maybe Gen Con next year or a little after that.
Something, I mean, that everything's in flux, but something along that line, I think, is what we're looking at. Of course, Roy would know more.
Roy would know more. Roy's a great person to ask. And I think if you are interested in playing this, Roy demoed it a lot during Gen Con Online, but I imagine he is willing to show it to more people. He's very excited about it, understandably
so. He's very excited about it, yes.
Yeah. And if you like 4X style games but don't want to play a 3 or 4 or 8 hour game, this is a great one, honestly. Yeah. So
and that is Last Light, which is coming from Gray Fox Games. I have one other game to talk about, Crystal.
Okay.
One that I pulled out with the kids, and one that's a little bit older, not exactly a 4X game.
Yeah.
Monopoly Express. Are you familiar with this one?
I am not.
This is the dice game, the Monopoly dice game, and it's got a really convenient box. We talked about boxes a few weeks ago. This is not a box that's easy to store, but it has this. Come here. This board that sort of sits on the table, raised up a little bit, where you're going to place your dice. It is a push your luck dice game. You've got a whole mess of dice. Some of them, like this one, have the nasty go to jail character on it, which you can't see too well because the camera doesn't want to focus. We'll do this thing. The go to jail guy.
The beauty vlogger thing.
And if you get 3 of those, your turn is done. So as soon as this is the nasty, a lot of these dice games have this. If you get the nasty result on the die, it's got to go on the board, and as soon as you get 3 of those, your game is over, or your turn is over. The rest of the dice have properties on them. And they're just simple values. This one is 50, and then there's the one that's that represents Boardwalk and Park Place, the 500. And you're trying to get color groups. So you can roll all the dice, but you have to roll the ones that have the police dude on them as well. And then you can store as many as you want. And then continue to roll as long as you don't have 3 of the police guys. As soon as you get a color group, you then get to start rolling the house and hotel die. And that's got more faces on it that's going to earn you houses and hotels, or maybe get rid of those police guys. So you can take that die back and continue to roll it. And those are going to earn you more money. So as you complete the color groups, those are worth certain numbers of points. They're worth more than the individual dice would be. And you play until you stop or you bust. If you manage to get some houses, you get additional money that's worth like an extra 1,000, and you're racing to get to $15,000. And it's a nice, light, simple game. I don't know if it is. It's been a while since I'd played this one. I've sort of kept it around because it's so small and portable. It does have this nice. While it doesn't store well, it does travel well. It's like a locking top. So it travels well, and it's easy to teach, and you can pull it out. And it only lasts like 3 or 4 turns around the table, and you're done. And there you go. You've played a nice little Monopoly Express. But, push your luck games often have this sense that anybody could maybe win. Like, if you are behind, you could maybe push it and try and win the game and pass to win it. That's harder to do in this one. There's sort of a limited amount, the dice, the way the faces are distributed. There comes a point at which you look at what's left and you can't complete the monopolies you're going for. Once you have put dice on the board, they're locked. So often you can be looking at stuff that you've saved and go, oh, I'm not going to complete any of these monopolies. You can only score one incomplete monopoly or incomplete property set in a round. Everything else is locked into the monopolies themselves. So at some point you look at your dice and go, oh, well, all I have left are police guys and this one die that doesn't match anything else I've stored. And that's tough. But yeah, I guess you can, if you get the house die and keep rolling houses and no police guys, you could continue to earn enough to pass somebody. So it's the possibility's there, but it can get a little frustrating as well. Anyway, that's Monopoly Express. It's sticking around purely because of its portability, not necessarily because it's my favorite push your luck dice game.
Okay. I mean, the one thing that you mentioned that seems somewhat unique when compared to other push your luck dice games is that dice face that you mentioned that could take the police guys back. Because I think in most push your luck games, like zombie dice, for instance, when you've got 2 of the shotgun sides, there's nothing you can do about that, and you just have to decide, do I roll or do I not? So the chance that you could remove some, I think, would be interesting, at least.
Yes, and because that symbol is on I've got a Monopoly die, the property improvement die, there is a push to complete a Monopoly, even if it isn't the more lucrative Monopoly. Do one of the easier ones that has more die faces associated with it, in order to start rolling that house and hotel die, because that's going to keep you alive and remove the police symbols. So yeah, there are choices for sure.
Okay.
It's just it's quick and light.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Yes.
All right. Well, that's pretty cool. Well, we are going to have a discussion a little bit later in the episode about IP games, but our game for this episode that we're going to play isn't necessarily an IP game itself, but I've kind of chosen some IP-based things. We are going to play Half Truth again, Eric.
Okay.
If anyone in the chat does not remember Half Truth.
I don't remember Half Truth.
So Half Truth is the game that was designed by Richard Garfield and Ken Jennings, a person that most people are aware of because he's a Jeopardy champion. And
Richard
it is a trivia
Garfield
game.
is a Jeopardy champion?
Yes, Richard Garfield is definitely who I was talking about. I am actually going to switch to my other webcam. If you'll give me just a second here. In theory, now you should be able to see the game board.
Yep.
So in case this does not look familiar, what we're going to do is I have 6 questions that we're going to go through. Each round we will roll the die to see how many points the first answer you get right is worth. I'm going to omit the weird sides of the die because last time we found that made things too complicated. So it's just going to be 1, 2, 3, or 4 each round. But each card is going to have... Oh, those cards are not open. Let me grab one that actually is so I can show you an example without spoiling the game. Each card has a question or a statement on it and 6 answers.
Yes.
3 of those answers are true or correct, and 3 of them are not. And, of course, my dog desperately wants into my lap right now. Okay, Sterling, you can hang out. Nobody can see you. It's fine. So 3 of the answers are true and 3 of them are not. And you and I and the chat are all going to be guessing what the correct answers are. The way chat is going to be guessing is through straw polls that I will put into the chat. And you can choose how many correct answers you want to guess, Eric. So you don't have to guess all 3. You can guess 1, 2, or 3 of the answers based on how confident you are.
Yes.
You have to get everything right of your guesses to get points. So if you guess something wrong, you don't get points. So like in this instance, words that were once protected as trademarks, if we flip this over, we will see that aspirin, trampoline, and videotape were all protected as trademarks at one point. I will be putting tokens down around the board based on where people made guesses, you, me, and the chat. Like I said, the way chat's going to be guessing is via straw polls. So I'm going to have to kind of eyeball it to some degree.
Okay.
But chat will be able to vote on all of these answers, and they can choose more than one. So if somebody is very confident, they can choose all 3 answers if they want, and I will be looking at the straw poll to see which answers are significantly more voted on than the others to determine how many guesses chat is making.
That makes sense.
Okay, so I'll have to eyeball it to some degree, but if there are clear leaders, those will be the answers that chat is going with.
Sure.
And if you get 2 answers right, you get 1 bonus point. If you get all 3 answers right, you get 2 bonus points. So the first answer, if you only guess 1 answer correct, you'll get the number of points that was shown on the die. If you get 2 answers right, you'll get 1 extra point. If you get all 3 answers correct, you will get an additional bonus point.
Got it.
So it will change each round. I'm going to put the dog down. Because, oh, buddy, why? He's so cute. I can't handle it. Buddy, go over there. All right. I'm going to go ahead and drop the first straw poll into the chat. Okay. So for our first question, and again, I don't know the answers to these. I've only picked the questions, but I picked questions that had IPs in them, so to tie into today's theme. So our first one is Frito-Lay's Do Us a Flavor contest finalists.
Oh boy.
So the answers from A to F, I'm going to try and read these in the correct order because you'll note A, B, C, D, E, F. They correspond with where the spaces are on the card. A is cappuccino. B is Greek Town Gyro. C is wasabi ginger. D is peppered Earl Grey. E is bacon triple stack. And F is rosemary yam. So again, for the chat, who's going to be voting in the straw poll, A, B, C, D, E, F. It doesn't read the way you would normally read a card.
Right. Oh boy, and how much is this round worth?
So we are going to have this round be worth, it is worth 1 point for the first answer, and then an additional 1 point for each other answer that you get correct. And if you all want, I'm going to actually lower the webcam just a little bit more, so that way hopefully y'all can read this a little bit easier. It's fine, everything's fine. I may have, everything's great.
Whee!
Oh gosh. Why? Okay, well, now I'm holding it, so that's clearly what I was going for there. It's fine. Everything's fine. It's totally fine. Oh, gosh.
All right.
I'm going to try that. How's that for readability? Oh, my. I'm so sorry for anyone with motion sickness issues.
There we go. That just, okay.
Oh, Lord. That was too much. Too much.
I have made my selection or selections.
Okay, and I am going to I think I know one of these for sure. The others I'm not as certain about. Okay, I'm going to go with that.
I mean, I know what I'd want to try.
Me too, actually. And I think it's one of the ones that I don't think is a real answer. Interestingly enough.
Huh.
Okay, I'm going to go over to the straw poll, check the results, see what we got going on. So as far as the chat is concerned, C is the biggest vote getter.
Okay.
And E is next, but it's a decent amount behind C. So I think we're going to go with just C for chat. And if somebody wants to argue with me about that, they're more than welcome. I went with A and C. A is the only one that I feel certain about.
Oh, well, then I feel delighted that I didn't choose A. I went with 3. I went with B, C, and E. Because
B,
this
C,
is a low-scoring round, I'm just going for the bonus points.
Nice. I like it. All right. So I will flip the card over, and we will see.
Oh!
That it was A, B, and
A,
C.
B, and C.
So chat is going to get 1 on the score track. I am going to get 2 on the score track.
And the goal is 7 points.
I mean, we're not playing by the real rules here, because this little score track would only be the first round of the normal game.
Ah.
But we're just going to see who can get the most points.
Okay.
I change the rules of this one every time we play it because it's almost too complex, but it's so much fun that I kind of don't care. So, our next question, I'm going to put the straw poll into the chat.
Ho!
Hopefully that works properly. So I'll have to read this one for sure. This is songs that Bill Murray has sung in a movie. So, in order from A to F, we have A, The Bare Necessities. B, I Shall Be Released. C, Do-Wah Diddy Diddy. D, You've Lost That Lovin' Feelin'. E, Silent Night. And F, What's So Funny About Peace, Love, and Understanding?
Oh, boy.
Okay. So I did put the straw poll in the chat, yes. I'm not going to look at the results yet.
Oh, boy. I really don't know on any of these.
I think I know 2. Well, okay, I'm certain on 1, and I think I have an idea for another.
How much is this round worth, Crystal?
Oh, good point. We should roll that die, shouldn't we? Well, and we're going to call it 1 again.
1 again.
Yep.
All right. I think I've locked in.
Yeah, I'm good with mine. So let me go over to the straw poll and see what chat is thinking. Click on the results. Interestingly enough, the amounts of the things it's similar. I'm going to give it a few more seconds here. And again, don't forget, chat, that you can vote for more than one answer.
Ah.
I'm sure you all know that, but so it looks like chat's only going to go with one answer again, because when I move to number 2, things are too close to one another. So chat's playing it safe. They don't know that they're doing that, but they are.
Hey, Crystal, who did the graphic design on this game?
The graphic design on this game is by Ian O'Toole.
Yeah, Ian O'Toole's in chat right now.
Oh. Okay, I'm not really looking at the chat.
And he says, "Hey, I did this game." I went, "Oh."
He sure did.
Thank you,
That's
Ian.
why it looks so good, obviously. Okay, so I'm going to refresh one more time. Yep, they're solid. So
Okay.
Chat is just going with C again.
Okay. I also said C,
Okay,
but
what
I
else did you
also
say?
said F.
C and F.
Yeah. I seem to recall hearing that out of Bill Murray's lips at one point.
Well, I can definitively tell you that F is true.
Oh.
Because it's in my favorite movie of all time. So F is one of my answers, and my other answer is E.
Oh.
I think in A Christmas Carol.
That would
Scrooged.
make in Scrooged, yeah.
I think he sings Silent Night. So those are my two answers. So let's take a look at what the actual answers are.
All right.
Dang it! Okay. I was making a guess on Silent Night, and I got that one wrong. But yes, so chat is going to get a point, and you are going to get 2 points. We're all tied up.
Bill Murray was in The Jungle Book? That must be the new remake. I did not know that was him.
I did not know that either.
We're all tied.
We're tied. Except for the bonus. Well, whatever. I'm just going to do it on the track. It's fine. I'm breaking all of the rules of this game. It's fine.
Sure.
Putting the next link in the chat. Oop. All right. Our next question is items on the original McDonald's menu. Okay. This is one that I have less knowledge about. I know one of these things was not on the original menu. But that's the only thing I'm kind of certain about.
These are interesting extra descriptors for some of these.
Yeah, like were they actually called these things is kind of I don't know.
What's this one worth?
This one is worth 2 points for the first answer and then 1 additional for both other answers. I have to pick something here. Okay. So we're going to go with
oh boy. I don't know. I'm torn on one of these answers. I think
I might go all in on this one and try for 3, even though it's probably not a smart plan. All right, I'm going to check out the straw poll because I've selected my answers.
I think I'm ready.
Okay. Chat is selecting 2 answers this time.
Okay.
They are selecting D and B.
Okay. I went with B as well.
Okay.
But I chose E as my second answer.
Okay.
I think coffee started always on the menu.
That seems reasonable to me, which is why I also chose E. I also chose B. And then I actually went with the fish sandwich.
Ooh, I don't know about that one.
Okay, so the only one I'm certain about is I know nuggets were not on the original McDonald's
also
menu.
agree that nuggets were a later addition.
I don't know why I went with the fish. That's probably not a safe bet. But let's find out, shall we?
I was torn on the Big Mac, which was wrong. Okay. And shakes was what I was thinking might have been on there.
Okay. So, chat gets 3 points because of the 2 for the original, 1, 2, 3, and the 1 bonus. And then you will also get 3.
Yep.
And I am left in the dust.
In the dust. How many questions are we doing?
Question. I'm ashamed.
I've been watching the McMillions documentary. That is a fascinating tale of woe.
I need to watch that one.
Although they haven't explained how these nefarious people. This is about people who cheated at the McDonald's Monopoly game. But they haven't explained how they did it. They just keep saying, well, we were trying to figure out how they did it. And then they don't tell you how they did it.
All right, the next straw poll is in the chat. I imagine there will be people in chat who will know this one outright. I do not. And that is bounty hunters in Star Wars movies.
Okay.
So from A to F, we have... Oh, gosh, I'm going to mispronounce some of this. Y'all just bear with me. We've got Bosk, Nawawe, Zaytoven, Vessel? Nuclear vessels.
Nuclear vessels.
IG88 and KJ52. Those two, thankfully, are a little bit easier to pronounce. Dear goodness, and I gotta figure out how many points.
How many points is this one worth?
This one's worth 3.
Oh boy.
For the first answer. Which means I'm only picking 1 because.
I think I'm locked.
All right, I am also locked with my single answer. And I'm going to check the results over in the straw poll. Wow. Well, we have almost no votes. 1 vote for 3 different answers, and that's it. So I'm going to put the link in the chat again. See if... Oh, there we go. Okay. It was just the one little bit of delay, and now we're getting a lot more.
Delay. Yep.
Yeah. And people are still voting, so I'm going to give it a couple of seconds here. But it looks like 2 answers are coming out on top for chat. So chat is going to be voting on 2 different things. They are voting on A and E.
Okay. A and E are the ones I know are correct. But I got a little cocky, and I went with D as well, which I know is a Star Wars name, but I'm not convinced that they are a bounty hunter.
Okay. And I just went with A. Because I was like, I know Bosk. That one I can do. So let's see here.
Woohoo!
Very nice! So that's 3, 4, 5 for you. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Bonuses!
Yeah, I'm just... Because I could flip to a different thing, but it's fine.
That's fine.
And then chat got 2 right, so they will get 3 plus 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4... And this is your point, so I'm going to put it over here by your tokens.
Yes.
Then I get 3. 1, 2, 3. All right.
Oh, golly, is the game over? Oh, no. No, it's not.
We have 2 more.
Okay.
And then we'll be done. So 1 straw poll going into the chat. Question. Blue Crayola crayons. I was obviously going for IP things, but I was trying to pick a wide variety of IP things.
Yeah.
So I didn't just go with movies and TV shows. So I have to actually figure this out now. Okay. I have to take some risks here, or I'm never going to catch you all.
How much is this one worth?
This one is worth only 1 point. Okay.
Definitely that one.
I think I might be able to get all 3 here. I think. I've said that before though and been wrong. So I'm going to 3 answers.
Okay, I think.
Oh, I didn't read these off. I'm so sorry, chat. For those of you who can't see, let me read these real quick. I apologize. In order: A, electric blue, cobalt blue, baby blue, midnight blue, Pacific blue, cadet blue. Apologies for not doing that in advance. I know sometimes it's hard to read the small text on the screen, so hopefully that will help those of you who... Let me see, results. Ooh, it's pretty close.
Yeah, I'm seeing a couple of collections, or a couple of answers show up in the chat that either agree with me or are one off from me.
Okay. Well, in the voting, there is one that's ahead of the others, but then I guess technically there are 3 answers that have more votes than when it gets similar. I know, it's like hard. Ooh, one is kind of taking the lead now. I'll wait and see if the second place gets any more votes. Give it a few more seconds. Okay, so 2 and 3 are now close to one another, and they're behind. So chat is going to vote for just one answer, and that is D.
Okay.
And then what have you got, Eric?
I went for 3. I went with B, D, and E.
B, D, and E. And I went with A, B, and D.
Okay.
So, one of us is not getting our point.
That is true.
I hope it's not just me again. No!
Oh, boy!
Man! Chat's the only one getting points here.
Chat pulls ahead.
Chat's getting a point. No, they're tied with you now.
This is only worth 1 point?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So Chat and you are tied.
Photo finish.
Cadet blue. I can't even picture what that would be. Also, isn't cobalt blue a crayon? I would have sworn.
I feel like cobalt blue is something. It must be something else, though.
It must be something else, yeah.
Cobalt blue.
All right, last question. My chance for redemption. This is a fun one. Putting the straw poll into the chat. Discontinued breakfast cereals.
Okay.
I have to admit, I looked at this and went, well, I haven't heard of any of those. So
I've heard of one of them.
I mean, I have to go for 3 here because otherwise I have no chance. But let's see how many points it's actually worth. It's going to be worth 2. So technically, if you and chat get this wrong and I get all 3 right, I can tie. Oh, no. I'll still be 1 point behind because you all have bonus points. There's nothing I can do.
It's for honor at this point, though.
Yes. And honor is a thing that I definitely want in my life. Wow, I have no idea. So the answers from A to F are Dwarfies, Crazy Cow, Cocoa Chums, Crunchy Stars, note the umlaut,
Yep.
Flaky Critters, and Agatha Crispy.
I want F to be a real one.
I want it to be real too. Also, Flaky Critters. That doesn't sound appealing to me as a food. I don't want my critters to be flaky. Oh no, this is hard. Okay.
I'm locked. I'm
gonna make some poor choices here, I think. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do that. And
Nick in the chat says, I always felt the Pacific Blue crayons tasted the best.
I mean, clearly.
A lot of folks in the chat are like, nope, I'm out. I can't help you.
Well, that makes me feel slightly better about my very poor choices. This is one of those questions where I will either be a legend or a disgrace. And I'm imagining the latter is more likely.
Good point from David saying that those of us, or those of you who are outside the U.S. are probably not very much of a help here. But even being in the U.S. isn't much of a help on this one.
Right. No, this is not. I think in theory these are probably American products, but that I have no benefit growing up here in this. Jeremiah said, Agatha Crispy's was a good product, but it suddenly just disappeared.
Uh-huh.
All right. Looks like we've got 2 votes that have, or 2 products that have taken the lead as far as chat is concerned.
Okay.
I'm going to give it a few more seconds to see if anybody else gets their votes in. Liz said, these all sound fake.
Yes.
And I imagine that's probably the point.
Yes.
All right, we're going to go with 2 answers from chat.
Okay.
D and E are what they're going with.
All right.
Crunchy Stars and Flaky Critters.
Well, I know that D is correct because it was a Muppet cereal. That is the Swedish Chef's Crunchy Stars, and that is the only one I chose because I went single.
Okay. Well, then I feel slightly better about the fact that I actually did pick Crunchy Stars. I also went with Agatha Crispy's.
Okay.
And Crazy Cow, because it doesn't sound like a breakfast cereal to me at all, which means it might be. You know what I'm saying? Like, why would they put that on here otherwise?
Yeah, all right.
That's my logic, and I'm sticking to it. And let's reveal and see how wrong I was. No! Agatha Crispy's, you let me down!
Oh, no! Am I going to pull ahead here because I was conservative?
You are. You've beaten the chat, Eric. You get 2 points, which puts you 2 points ahead of the chat, and you are our winner this evening.
Thank you, Swedish chef.
Bork, 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 bork.
Bork, 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 bork.
Why? Come on. Agatha Crispies. Oh, that's interesting. So the fake cereals were actually in things. They just weren't real products. So Agatha Crispies was in the movie House of a Thousand Corpses. Flaky Critters was in the movie The Groove Tube. And Cocoa Chums were in a Berenstain Bears book.
Huh. Well, there you go.
They actually pulled things that your brain might have retained but weren't real. That's clever.
That's evil is what that is.
It kind of is. So, Eric, you are our winner this evening.
I'm
going to switch my webcam back to myself.
And I will bring us back into our two-shot. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
All right. I'm very happy that the Muppets got me through to win the game on that one.
Yeah, and honestly, the chat did really well on this one as well.
Speaking of the Muppets, can you name a Muppet board game, Crystal?
I don't think I can.
There was one many years ago, but it was probably around the 1980s or so, and not very good, which is one of the reasons we're talking about our topic for today. There are tons of games based on existing properties. We call them IP, intellectual property games. And I also got to play a Voltron game a few weeks ago that was utterly terrible. It wasn't a game. It was a search for tokens, and that was about it. And the IP games, at least during that particular period, and still sometimes today, got a pretty nasty reputation as being not even really games, but more products. It was more about selling the object so that, say, a grandmother goes looking for a gift for their grandkid for a birthday, and they're like, oh, my kid likes Voltron, I'll take this. And not necessarily being a product that was going to be a good game, but just something that someone would buy on the shelf. And that's been changing fairly successfully, so that now if you find an IP-based game, there's a pretty good chance it's going to be a good game in addition to being a memento of one of your favorite properties. And we wanted to sort of look at why that is, what helps it jump the line from a cash-in, from a sellout, to a real game that makes you feel like, yeah, this is Battlestar Galactica. You know, this is a product that I'm happy to play and relive my TV show or movie.
Absolutely. And I think a big point of consideration in this conversation is that I think sometimes we as hobby gamers do tend to ignore parts of the mass market. So for me personally, when I got into the hobby, I think I vaguely remember thinking all IP games for the most part were not good or were less than great. And to this, in my mind now, I think most IP games are good or great. But there are still a lot of mass market games based on intellectual properties that I would say objectively aren't the best games.
Right. And you can find this in your big box stores. If a Target or Walmart have some very good games now on the shelves, but if you walk away from the stuff that us hobby gamers know and walk down to the other end of the aisle where the kids' games are, you will often find a much lower percentage of good stuff. I'm thinking of, like, there was a Frozen 2 basically roll and move game. Some that just variations on memory, or variations, or just another themed version of Monopoly. If all they did was take an existing product and slap new names on it, that's not going to make you feel like you're reliving that property. It's going to make you feel like you're playing Operation, but it's Baby Yoda and not,
Which is just creepy. Like, when it was random person that you don't have any connection to, it kind of made sense. But, like, I don't want to operate on Baby Yoda.
Well, maybe he's sick and you gotta fix him.
That's
or
true.
her.
And
We don't know. We don't know the gender of, the child.
The interesting consideration about big box stores is that they have been upping their hobby game, so to speak.
Yep.
And you can find a lot of good IP games at big box stores. Particularly, there have been a lot that have come out in the past few years designed by the Prospero Hall design group.
Yeah.
A lot of them are being published by Big G Creative. I think there are some other publishers as well, though. Yep. And I have gotten to the point where if Prospero Hall, the group, designed a game, I'm immediately interested in it, kind of no matter what the IP is. Yeah. And they've come out with so many recently.
Yes. I mean, I think what makes it important and in making you feel like this was a good purchase is that it does more than just what I said was, taking names of places and people and things, but actually trying to take something that is at the core of that product and making that the core of the game. So going back to Battlestar Galactica, the treachery of not knowing who a Cylon is, which was really the core of at least the first half of the Battlestar Galactica series, not knowing who the bad guys were, and the fact that they could hide anywhere, and turning that into the core of the game. You have a mission to complete, but at least one of you does not want you to complete that mission. And you know that going in. And everything is then built around that duplicitousness, that unsure feeling where, all right, so could you not help in that because you didn't have the cards or because you're a toaster? And it's all about getting to those moments of accusations and brigging somebody or airlocking somebody because of this paranoia, which succeeds because the game is built around that core and it feels like what the TV show feels like.
I think you've hit the nail on the head. For me, the difference between, and again, there are always exceptions to this rule. There were in the past good IP games back when most of them are bad, and to this day, there are bad IP games when I think more of them are good. But I think the core of why IP games now tend to be better are two reasons. I think the mechanisms are being more thoughtfully looked at by many of the publishers who are creating these games. They are not just slapping a theme onto an existing game and trying to connect the things that don't connect. So good mechanisms is number one. And then what Eric just said, I think, is the biggest part, and it is number two, and is that these games tend to evoke feelings and emotions that other games don't. So that feeling of treachery in Battlestar Galactica, or for me in Legendary Encounters Firefly, which was maligned by so many people because of the bad artwork.
The art design, yeah.
The art is horrible. I'm not going to lie. It's awful. But the game, if you are a fan of the TV series Firefly, you get to play through every single episode of the show. And the mechanisms in the game are set up in a way that it actually feels like you are experiencing each episode of that show. I'm heartbroken that so many people passed that game over because of how bad it looked. And it is. It looks bad. I get it. I adored the experience of playing through that game. It was so good.
Crystal, I don't need another Legendary game. I have Buffy. I've got Alien. I have a ton of Marvel. I don't need another one. And now you just made me want another one.
I mean, technically, I think I still have my copy, and I was planning on trading it just because I've played through the whole thing already. Oh. So it is in a giant box. I would probably take it out of said giant box if I were to mail it. But I theoretically could maybe mail the cards. Possibly. Well, we'll talk later.
We'll talk later. But speaking of Firefly, that's another, the larger Gale Force 9 game also makes me feel like Firefly because it takes the freewheeling adventure of that show. And that is the core. Because a lot of people thought originally it was a pick up and deliver game. but it's not really. It pick up and deliver is part of it, but it's also an adventure, and it's about getting the people that you need, the equipment you need to just barely make it through. And it feels really good when a card comes up and you happen to have the exact crew component that you need, or even that specific crew member. It says if you've got River, you succeed. And that feels like, oh man, that person had exactly what I needed. I did it right. And you have this wonderful moment, or getting the exploding dice, the what do they call it, daring heroics or something, when you roll the one ship symbol and then you get to roll again and again, so that you can possibly still succeed at something that you're terrible at just because you got lucky. And while some people don't like that aspect, like, well, it's too lucky, but that feels like Firefly. You go on a quest, you're hoping to succeed, and often when it works, it's just by the skin of your teeth, and it's because you got this plucky group of people, and it just works out for you. And that feels like Firefly.
The other game that I wanted to specifically mention that evokes feelings for me that I think most people wouldn't immediately think of, like I think you and I both, my brain tends to go to the big epic experiences when I think about evoking feelings, but that's not always the case with IP games. The Trapper Keeper game, for instance, which is designed by Prospero Hall, it is a little set collection game.
Yep.
Where you are collecting cards that are homework and notes and detention slips and permission slips, and you're filing them away into a mead folder, and they have doodles on them. It evokes the feelings of being back in like middle school with your Trapper Keeper and your mead notebook, and having like it evokes small feelings of joy instead of these big epic legendary moments. And I think that that's really neat too, because a lot of small filler games that are licensed, I think, tend to be pretty and they don't have that same magical moment, and Trapper Keeper game really does for me.
Yeah, it's more than just, I haven't played the Trapper Keeper game, but just hearing everyone talk about it, it's more than just, oh, this game looks like a Trapper Keeper. And I remember Trapper Keeper. It tries to capture the feeling of you being in school. And so that's a lot bigger and a lot more emotional than simply, oh, this is an object I used to own. It's, here is a time that I inhabited, and this is what I was doing at that time, and this does make me sort of feel like that again. So that, again, that's a key. I mean, we could talk about the ones that don't do it well forever, but I'd rather talk about the ones that do it well.
For sure.
What's another big emotion that a good IP game can make you feel?
I mean, we've already talked about the treachery in something like BSG, but I would say you always kind of get excited about success in any game, but I think when that success is tied to a specific memory related to an IP, it can kind of feel even a little bit more exciting. So something like Jaws, for instance, and I apologize for bringing up the Prospero Hall ones, but I think they are a lot of their games are the more recent good versions of IP games.
Yep.
But in Jaws, in the game, there are 2 acts. And it's interesting because first, you've got the island. Jaws is swimming around, and everyone is searching, going to different parts of the island, trying to find where Jaws is at in the water and trying to close the beaches and other things like that. And then in the second half of the game, you're on the boat. The people are on the boat, and Jaws is attacking the boat. And you're trying to kill Jaws, or Jaws is trying to kill the people. And, like, that moment of killing Jaws in the movie is a big, oh my gosh. And in the game, it's the same way. It's hard to do. You don't know if they're going to succeed. I guess, spoiler alert, I imagine, like, I think most people, I don't tend to spoil movies, but I would hope Jaws is fair game. The shark doesn't win. I'm sorry to anyone who was hoping the shark won. And admittedly, being Jaws in the board game is hard, but that makes sense, right? Like,
yeah.
Humans versus shark, I would think humans would have a slightly easier time of it. I don't know.
So this is sort of an offshoot of IP games, and we've talked a little bit about game show home games before.
Okay.
But that is another thing that the successful ones make you feel like you're a contestant on the show. And that can get very tricky when you don't have the full studio audience and all the graphics and, all of the production elements that make a TV show. But if the home version is able to make you feel those same emotions, that panic when you don't know the answer, that success, that joy when you manage to get things right or get to the bonus round or win something, then that is a successful home game. Whereas if you're wrestling with a bunch of trivia questions and it just doesn't feel like what you see on TV, then you don't feel like it's a successful product, and you feel like, well, I just paid $20 for this thing that just had the logo slapped on it.
I mean, that makes perfect sense. And to capture the stakes that exist in a game show is difficult because you don't have money on the line.
You're not actually winning anything. Yeah.
Right. And obviously we as gamers like to win games, but I think a lot of the game shows are predicated on making tough decisions that relate to a monetary gain. So translating that to a board game can be difficult.
Yes, very much so. Anything else we want to cover? We've been chatting for a while. I want to leave a little bit of room for people to ask questions if they want to go that route. Any other really successful IP-based games that are coming to mind recently?
Well, I was going to name a really old IP game that I think most people don't know about, although I've mentioned it before, and that's the McDonald's game that came out in the 1970s.
You are very right. It captures the panic of working behind a McDonald's counter in a very visceral way. I especially love how the cards are, you're not allowed to touch anything. It lists a whole order. I want, 2 cheeseburgers, and I want fries, and I want this. But then it often changes something up at the last minute. I want
never mind. Make that cheeseburger a hamburger or whatever.
And so you have to keep all this in your head and get the order right and do it fast. And it has that panic of working at the lunch rush.
It's at its core, it's a roll and move game that has a dexterity element, a memory element, and a speed element. And it's fun. It's very fun. And anyone who ever sees me at a convention, you grab me and I will always play the McDonald's game.
Just walking around with it under your arm the whole time.
It's tough to carry around because the board is large, but it's fine. So yeah, if anyone in the chat has any questions for us about IP games or otherwise, please drop them in the chat. We did want to mention, in case you all heard Tom's recent announcement, the daily chats here on the Dice Tower that they've been doing for the past few months are going to be ending this coming Sunday.
Yes.
Eric and I are not going anywhere.
No.
This bi-weekly Dice Tower Tonight stream is sticking around. This is not going anywhere as part of that, but since it is in the same time slot, we wanted to make sure you all knew that we're not going anywhere.
Yes, we were here before the chat started, and we're going to be here when it's done. But there is a big blowout. Tom is doing a big stream with as many people as possible. I'm not sure if I'll be able to join in on Sunday, but on Sunday night, he's doing a final grand finale.
I will be there.
Awesome.
I'm planning on being in attendance for that. I don't know how many people are going to be part of it. I imagine it's going to be a little bit bananas.
So Rachel asks, Eric, do your kids just love having you read books to them? Do you do the voices? And can you read rule books to me? That's several questions. They don't really want me to do that anymore, but when they were little, yes, that was something that they loved doing. And I liked interpreting like Sandra Boynton books and sort of turning them into songs or doing silly voices. And there are some that we're keeping just because I like doing the voices on it. And it annoyed my wife to no end because when it was her turn to read, the kids would be like, "No, Mommy, you're reading it wrong." And she's like, "I don't read it like that. You want me not to read?" And they said, "No, you can go ahead and read." So she figured out how to combat that. And can you read rule books to me? No, although I think I did. Someone, maybe for the Jack Vassell Memorial Fund auction, I think I offered to read a rule book once. And so I did the Inish rule book and read the whole thing out.
And you, as part of the Dice Towers Kickstarter each year, you don't do rule books, but you do voicemail greetings, right?
I do, yes, and I've done some fun. A lot of people want One Night Ultimate Werewolf related ones or silly puns on their voicemail. I love it when I have to explain who I am. It's like, hi, you've reached Jeffrey's voicemail. I'm Eric Summerer from the Dice Tower. And it's like, okay, I wonder what people think when they call Jeffrey.
They're probably confused and bemused and all of the things.
Yes.
Nick Wagner asks, Crystal, can you sing any of the McDonald's songs? I mean, do you mean like the Big Mac song? The like 2 all-beef patty, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun? Like that thing? Or are we talking...
The McDonald's menu song.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the only McDonald's thing that I'm actually surprised I remembered that, to be honest.
I still remember the McDonald's menu song, although it's hard. I end up going too fast and tripping over myself while I'm trying to do it. But yes, the McDonald's menu song is still ingrained in my brain after listening to it a million times as a kid.
I remember having to hear a lot of stories about McDonald's when I was growing up, because when my dad was a teenager, he worked at McDonald's. So that would have been in the like mid to late 70s. So I think McDonald's was kind of in a like its heyday, or it's still popular obviously, but like he's told me a lot of stories about working at McDonald's back in those days.
I want Eric doing the George Costanza answering machine message, customized to me.
So, do you know that one, Eric? Because I do.
I don't. I mean, I'm sure. I think I've seen the episode, but it's been so long that I don't.
Believe it or not, Kabuki Kid isn't home. Please leave a message at the beep. Something, something on the phone. Where could he be? Believe it or not, George isn't home. Or something like that.
So it's just the Greatest American Hero theme.
Yes.
Got it.
Oh, goodness. And now the chat is regretting everything, because now they've had to hear me sing 2 different things.
Yeah, hold the pickles, hold the lettuce, special orders don't upset us. Yes, that's another McDonald's. Now they're all just repeating McDonald's songs.
All right, well, let's see. Any other questions in the chat?
Someone's asking why I didn't list American Graffiti as a soundtrack that I loved. This must have been from a previous chat. I'm not really familiar with the American Graffiti soundtrack. I mean, I'm sure I recognize some of the songs from it, but it's not an album that I think I said the Back to the Future soundtrack was one that I really liked.
I have a specific memory related to American Graffiti that it's, you know how sometimes things will like appear in your brain that you haven't thought about for like a very, very long time?
Oh, yes.
I was in LA when I was like 17 with my high school's choir, and we were on a bus tour of LA, and our bus driver was doing a really good job of pointing out fancy landmarks, and he pointed out the diner from American Graffiti to us, and we were all like, oh, that's really cool. And then right after that, he was like, oh my gosh, look at that guy over there on the sidewalk. And so we all fling to the side of the bus to look at whatever celebrity he's pointing out to us. And he's like, yeah, I have a coat just like that. Like, he was just a nobody, and our bus driver was just being cheeky. But like, for whatever reason, that and American Graffiti are now tied together in my brain.
Sure. I had that moment when everything just came flooding back to me a couple weeks ago, when our friend moderator Chris posted a clip from Square One Television, the PBS math show, and it was the Angle Dance, which is like a pastiche of 80s like Devo and that style of techno, of electronic music, and it was Angle Dance, and it just, I didn't remember that ever existed until I started watching the video, and then it was like, oh no, I know the choreography. I know that at one point the keyboardist is going to be reaching for one keyboard and reaching for this one, and then it's like, here's the obtuse angle and here's the acute angle. I knew that they were going to do that in the choreography, and it's like, whoa. The whole thing just came flooding back, and I was in middle school again.
the human brain is a pretty cool thing.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, Ambi has jumped into the chat to gloat over defeating us in Last Light, which means it's probably time to end.
Oh, no, we're all
oh, it's time to go, Ambi. Sorry.
Oh gosh, so yes, chat, I will be part of the big Zoom Dice Tower chat thing on Sunday evening. Eric may be able to join us, but Eric and I will be back for Dice Tower Tonight 2 weeks from now, which will be August 19th at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. Thank you all so much for joining us this evening, for playing along with our game, and for just hanging out with each other. You all are one of the most delightful parts of my week, my month, my anything, and we appreciate you all being here.
I needed this.
Before you leave, please do me a quick favor. Click that little thumbs up button below the video. It helps let the YouTube algorithms know that you enjoyed the stream, and it'll help more people see it after the fact who weren't able to join us live. But until 2 weeks from now, I am Crystal.
And I am Eric.
And you've been watching Dice Tower Tonight.
Thank you for watching. Promotional consideration has been provided by game publishers in the form of review copies of games. Crystal and I will see you in 2 weeks for another installment. Our show is supported by viewers like you. Thank you. Dice Tower Tonight is produced by Crystal and me with assistance from Tom Vassell, Mike DeLisio, Roy Cannaday, and Rob Searing. Requests for that Keanu Reeves movie with the bomb on the bus brought to you by Godspeed. Timothy Pinkham composed our theme, and hosting is provided by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games at great prices at coolstuffinc.com. Give us your feedback on the Dice Tower Guild at Board Game Geek, on Facebook or Twitter, or by emailing us at crystal@dicetower.com or eric@dicetower.com. And don't forget to visit the other shows in the Dice Tower Network. Find something new at dicetowernetwork.com. Until next time, from all of us at the Dice Tower, have fun gaming. I think I enjoy the almost as much as the laugh.
It's just I get that.
Oh.
The recognition.
What a fine selection, good sir.
I approve of this pun.
I understand it. Yes, I get that reference.
Hold on. Oh gosh, do I have them? Hold on. Yes. Quite. I do understand this pun, sir. I appreciate it very much.
Wait, you just had that sitting there? What is that doing there? That wasn't anything we talked about. You just have that?
I mean, do you really need to question anything about my life at this point? I am just a ridiculous person, Eric.
Goodbye, everybody.